I Time Magazines senaste undersökning.
In the most recent study conducted by Time Magazine,
de todos los coches citados en todos los países de la encuesta,
lors de l'enquête la plus récente effectuée par Time Magazine,
sono state citate 24 auto diverse, auto americane.
24 verschiedene Wagen wurden angegeben.
automobile owners throughout Europe were asked to rate cars on several characteristics: quality, styling, technology, safety, reliability. 24 different cars were named. Cars from America, Sweden, Japan, Italy, England, France and Germany. Of all the cars named, one car was rated number one as best value for the money. It was Volkswagen.
Surprised? You shouldn't be. Value has been a standard feature on every Volkswagen ever made. In this program, you'll discover things you may not have known about how cars are made and tested, and learn some things you may want to consider before you buy your next car. This is the story about the most loved cars in the world. Volkswagen entered the United States quietly in 1949 when they sent 2 cars to this country in search of retailers to sell them. This is one of those 2 cars. It was called the Beetle. It would change forever the driving habits of people in America and all over the world. The spare tire, the gas tank, and the trunk were all up front. It had headlights like bulging eyeballs and turn indicators that snapped to attention in compartments hidden in the doorposts. The motor was in the back, mounted over the rear wheels to improve traction. It became known as an unbreakable car. A car that could run nonchalantly through mud and snow.
Have you ever wondered how the man who drives a snowplow drives to the snowplow? This one drives a Volkswagen. So you can stop wondering.
The Beetle wasn't the only transportation breakthrough Volkswagen produced. 40 years ago, they created the concept of today's minivan, the VW bus. Conventional wagons could carry your band instruments. Volkswagen could carry your band. You could use it for work, or you could take it on vacation, play in it, or pray in it. In 1962, when a 1 millionth bus rolled off the line in Germany, Volkswagen donated it to UNICEF. But let's go back to the early years. The first Volkswagen was designed by the legendary Ferdinand Porsche. It was revolutionary in concept and design. It had torsion bar suspension, an idea soon copied by all the American manufacturers. The transmission was quick and clear, the steering precise and responsive. Volkswagen was fanatic about reliability. The cars had to work the way they were designed to work, or they didn't leave the factory. Everything should work like that.
Few things in life work as well as a Volkswagen.
Volkswagen rode along modestly in America. 6,000 were sold in 1954 and 28,000 a year later. Detroit paid no attention. They knew what kind of cars people wanted.
Cars sure keep changing. They get longer and shorter and longer again. One year, fronts looked like backs. Then backs looked like fronts. You remember fins, don't you? And chrome everywhere. Here, and here, and here. One-toned cars were out. Three-tones, they were the thing. We still don't know about headlights. Are 2 enough? 4? 6? 8? And then there's the Volkswagen, homely as ever. But everything in it keeps changing. The brakes, the clutch, the transmission. The engine has been improved hundreds of times. Some cars keep changing and stay the same. But the Volkswagen stays the same and keeps changing.
With Volkswagen, how a car handled was more important than how it looked.
The Bug, one of the fastest, strongest, most dependable animals alive.
Hollywood took notice of the growing love affair with this spunky little car, and they signed the Love Bug to a 3-picture deal. Volkswagen didn't follow fad or fashion in anything. They paved a new road in designing cars and talking about them. Volkswagen convinced people that it was okay to think small, that living below your means was socially acceptable, because a Volkswagen will make your house look bigger. VW owners were an independent sort and never worried much about what the neighbors thought.
Mr. Jones and Mr. Krempler were neighbors. They each had $3,000. With his money, Mr. Jones bought himself a $3,000 car. With his money, Mr. Krempler bought himself a new refrigerator, a new range, a new washer, a new dryer, a record player, 2 new television sets, and a brand new Volkswagen. Now Mr. Jones is faced with that age-old problem, keeping up with the Kremplers.
Volkswagen found more beauty in engineering than styling. Ugly is only skin deep. Lemon was a forbidden word in Detroit, but not at a company proud of its quality control. Volkswagens were solid, well-built, and had one feature no other car could match. Gloria Steinem is an influential lecturer and author who travels widely speaking on a range of women's issues. As the consulting editor and co-founder of Ms. Magazine, she realized that all car advertising is not created equal.
In 1972, when Ms. Magazine started, most car manufacturers didn't think that women bought cars. They thought maybe we chose the upholstery color or something, but that we didn't really make the purchase. And in fact, they advertised so exclusively to men that a lot of car ads had a blonde lying over the hood, you know, as if you could somehow buy her right along with the car. But Volkswagen was always different. In the same way that its car was simple and straightforward, its ads were simple and straightforward and honest. And in fact, in a very early issue of Ms. Magazine, they ran an ad that said, we never ran an ad in another magazine that we wouldn't run in Ms. Now, we had already discovered that the purchase of a car for a woman was a really important one. It meant symbolic freedom and independence and mobility. And gradually, as the rest of the car manufacturing world caught on to the fact that women were buying cars, they also started to address women in ads, but they were still condescending, you know, as if they were talking to a child somehow. But when Volkswagen did a special ad for women, that too was different. For instance, here's one, you know, that is a spoof on the fact that a station wagon is only supposed to be for women who take their kids to school and have groceries and are playing a traditional role. But this one says, "I bought a wagon out of wedlock." And because it was witty and it addressed women with intelligence, it really worked. So this business of cars is really very symbolic for women. It represents a world that we're not supposed to enter. And it meant a great deal that Volkswagen made us feel welcome.
Volkswagen advertising, like its cars, was honest. It was a new concept in selling automobiles.
Since everyone's conducting a mileage test, we at Volkswagen thought we'd conduct one. So we modified our body and our engine and used someone who didn't weigh much to drive. And we got 84 miles per gallon. Ridiculous? Nobody normally drives like this? That's precisely our point. Nobody normally drives like most of those tests.
May not have been pretty, but for its time, the Volkswagen Beetle was the most reliable and best value automobile you could buy. More than 21 million were sold. It became the single best-selling car in the world ever. Dave Power is the founder and president of the marketing information firm J.D. Power & Associates, the most respected, the most quoted analyst of consumer-related issues in the automotive industry. David, what's the key to the Beetle and Volkswagen's success over the years?
The real key to the Beetle has been its reliability, dependability, trouble-free operation, and a strong dealer force that backed it up with service. Yes, they demonstrated over the years that they had a dealer organization that was very responsive to the customer's needs.
Volkswagen was also responsive to a changing world market. They saw the need to create a new car that was as innovative for its time as the Beetle had been for a generation before. That remarkable new vehicle was called the Rabbit. It had an innovative front-wheel drive system that was ahead of its time and put Volkswagen ahead of more expensive cars that only promised the kind of performance and value for the money that Volkswagen actually delivered. One of the editors for Car and Driver magazine nominated it the most significant car of the last quarter century. This new Volkswagen was engineered to be fun to drive.
Reverend, you drive a Volkswagen Rabbit?
Yes, my son. It's a mixed blessing.
It is?
Yes. It's not only economical, which is good for the parish, but I must confess, with CIS fuel injection and front-wheel drive, it's sinfully fun. And it's the only car in its fold to have all that.
Wow, I guess you take it out often.
Religiously.